Hello friends, let's talk about the 10 best vegetables that reduce inflammation. Have you heard of the FODMAP diet? We're going to go over that later, but you're going to be impressed with this list of vegetables and how powerful they can be to improve your health. Number 1 is broccoli. Your mom made you eat it for a reason. It is packed with vitamins such as vitamin C, K, and A, as well as fiber and a unique non-nutrient plant compound called sulforaphones. Did you know that broccoli is also a good source of calcium? Now, the reason I actually eat broccoli is because of that sulforaphane molecule. It is a powerful antioxidant with potential anti-cancer properties. And it also helps with blood sugar control. But if you can't tolerate broccoli crowns, then try eating broccoli sprouts, which is number 2. Sprouts actually have higher level of vitamins and minerals and molecules like sulforaphones than the mature plant. In fact, these studies were done with powdered broccoli sprouts. However, I wouldn't suggest eating them powdered. They only use powdered because they had to make a placebo pill and they could only stuff powdered food in a capsule. Now, sprouts, they offer a variety of health benefits, making them a great addition to balance any diet. Whether you're on a ketogenic diet, a paleo diet, or a whole food plant-based diet, you can all enjoy sprouts. This is a great food for children and for people who really don't like to eat green leaves. The sprouting process increases the levels of certain vitamins, particularly B vitamins, vitamin C, and vitamin K. These are all essential for various bodily functions, including supporting your immune system and for blood clotting. Now, some people may feel bloated eating fibrous foods like broccoli crowns. Those people probably just needs a little bit of gut training. During this training process, you can eat more broccoli sprouts because sprouting improves digestibility as sprouting breaks down some of the starches into simpler sugars and it reduces anti-nutrients, and therefore there is more nutrients that are bioavailable. Now, the key to reducing inflammation is to decrease oxidation, and eating sprouts can increase antioxidant levels in your blood. Sprouts have higher levels of antioxidant compounds compared to their mature counterparts. This can help protect your body from the oxidative stress of life and reduce all kinds of risks from chronic diseases. Now, your metabolism is dependent upon enzymes, and sprouts are rich in enzymes that you basically don't have, and without them, you can't maximize the benefits of cruciferous vegetables. Take, for example, Myrosinase. This enzyme is crucial for converting glucosinolates, which are found in broccoli sprouts and other cruciferous vegetables, into isothiocyanates, such as sulforaphane. Sulforaphane is a compound with potent anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. It's actually being studied for its potential to prevent cancer and to support cardiovascular health. Myrosinase activity is really essential to make sulforaphane bioavailable for your body. So when you eat broccoli or broccoli sprouts without myrosinase, you won't benefit from the sulforaphanes. And this is why it's beneficial to chop your broccoli at least 30 minutes prior to you needing to cook it. Myrosinase is killed by heat, and this is why chopping it afterwards doesn't work. But sulforaphane is heat resistant. Now, I've spoken in several videos about glutathione, which is critical for your body to reduce oxidative stress. Did you know that eating foods rich in sulforaphanes can actually increase your glutathione levels in your blood as well as your brain? Glutathione powers your number 1 antioxidant and anti-inflammatory tool in all your cells, the glutathione redox system, which is dependent upon magnesium, selenium, riboflavin, and cysteine. And this is why it's best to eat a diversity of foods. But if you eat enough broccoli or broccoli sprouts, they can both help you manage your weight as they are low in calories but high in nutrients and fiber to help you feel full, and so you eat less food. These foods can also help you reduce your blood pressure, your cholesterol levels, as well as inflammation, all while boosting your immune system. Now, there are 2 problems with eating sprouts. Number 1, they're expensive. And number 2, they can be contaminated by bacteria. Now, the first one is easy to solve. Just buy a bag of broccoli seeds and sprout them yourself. They are so easy to do for pennies a day. You just need to have a mason jar, a mesh lid to allow the water to drain, and you need to change the water daily. Now, I typically use pre-boiled water to rinse because I don't want the bacteria in my tap water to contaminate my sprouts. And contamination is a problem that's harder to solve because contamination starts at the seeds. The other thing you can do is to just basically cook them before you eat. Now, if you have problems digesting broccoli, you may want to consider training your gut microbiome. And this can take a few weeks, but eventually you'll get there. And in the meantime, try something different, like cauliflower, which is number 3. It has less fiber, so you may be able to tolerate this plant better. Cauliflower is so convenient now because they sell cauliflower rice, they have cauliflower pizza dough. It has a soft texture. And if you're having gut issues like irritable bowel syndrome or SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, you may need to take a break from broccoli, and you may want to try the FODMAP diet, which is a dietary approach designed to manage the symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome as well as other functional gastrointestinal disorders. FODMAP stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. These are unique short-chain carbohydrates that are poorly absorbed in the small intestine. So they hang around and they get eaten by bacteria. And when bacteria eats food, that's called fermentation. Just like making sourdough bread, gas gets created. Basically, the bacteria farts. If one little bacteria farts, it's no big deal. You're not really going to feel that. But when 40 trillion bacteria fart all at the same time, that's a giant gas bubble that will make you uncomfortable. That's how people go from bloating to abdominal pain, and many can have both diarrhea and constipation. It's important to have good gut bacteria, but that bacteria needs to be in the right location. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is a condition where there is an excessive amount of bacteria in the small intestine. That's not where they belong. This overgrowth competes with your own nutrition and disrupts the normal function and structure of the small intestine. It can inhibit your absorption of food and nutrients. So basically, the bacteria is competing with your small intestinal cells for food. Unfortunately, the bacteria have an endless capacity to grow, and they get first access to the food that you eat. And they prefer the carbohydrates, including fiber. Now, fiber is not absorbed in the small intestine, and that's on purpose because the large intestine, which contains the highest concentration of bacteria, they need that fiber to produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate as an energy molecule for your colonic cells to contract and push your stools out of your anus so that you don't get constipated. Butyrate also helps to maintain your intestinal barrier function and integrity, which is crucial for preventing the unwanted entry of harmful substances like endotoxin, which is in the wall of gram-negative bacteria. That can trigger an intense immune response. If you want to repair your immune system, you have to start with your gut. All diseases begin in your gut. I didn't make that up. Ancient physicians figured that out over 2,000 years ago. Your gut is the largest immune organ. Your immune cells are constantly policing your intestines because it knows that there's a lot of germs on the other side. If those germs don't stay on the right side of your intestines, then that can cause really bad inflammation, and potentially this could be deadly for your survival. And this is why you got to get fiber down to your large intestine to make butyrate, which directly influences your immune system by telling it how many soldiers you need. Now, there are lots of immune cells, and these are just 3 of the players. T cells are like the general of your immune army. They tell other cells what to do, and they make sure you have enough soldiers. But too many soldiers can cause unwanted friendly fire, and that's why butyrate is so important. You know, I found that communication is a key to making progress, and that's why we have a healthcare crisis. But your body has that communication problem solved because your immune system communicates through signaling molecules like cytokines. Butyrate happens to control cytokines to calm unnecessary inflammation. It can inhibit the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines such as these, while enhancing the production of anti-inflammatory cytokines such as IL-10. But you have to have some inflammation. Inflammation is how you defend your body and how you heal. Have you ever cut yourself and it got painful, swollen, and red? Those are signs of inflammation, and that is how your body should respond to infections. Those symptoms started because of cytokines. However, you can imagine if you have too much inflammation in that finger, it's going to feel terrible. And if it goes up your arm, you can be septic. And eventually, if the inflammation continues, that can take your life. So there really needs to be a balance of inflammation. NF-kappa B is a protein complex that plays a significant role in regulating the response to infection. And it just so happens that butyrate can inhibit NF-kappa B activation, thereby reducing the expression of the genes involved in inflammation and immune responses to keep that inflammation balance correct. And everything happens because your genes either get activated or deactivated. And this requires the involvement of proteins called histones, which literally shape your genes to look like the chromosomes in the textbook. Your genes are the computer chips behind all your metabolism. And butyrate can also act as a natural histone enzyme inhibitor called histone deacetylase, which affects your gene expression. And by activating this mechanism, it can lead to the suppression of pro-inflammatory genes and promote anti-inflammatory pathways. SIBO is really a problem caused by several factors that affect the normal motility of your small intestine, allowing bacteria to grow excessively. And these factors include anatomical abnormalities of the small intestine, such as strictures or diverticula, which can trap bacteria. It's kind of like having a stagnant pond of water that attracts mosquitoes. Motility disorders such as scleroderma or post-infectious dysmotility or poorly controlled diabetes can all slow down the passage of food and allow bacteria to multiply. Then you have metabolic and systemic issues such as pancreatic insufficiency and chronic liver diseases. They can change the digestive enzyme or bile to promote intestinal overgrowth. Maybe you're on an antacid. The lack of gastric acid is another risk factor because that actually kills bacteria. And prolonged use of antacids like proton pump inhibitors can promote bacterial overgrowth. Now, of course, if you have conditions that affect your immune system, such as immunoglobulin deficiencies like common variable immunodeficiency or IgA deficiency, or maybe acquired immunodeficiency from HIV, these will all increase your risk of SIBO. Now, if you have SIBO, you may commonly suffer from these symptoms. And this is because the bacteria in the small intestine, they're fermenting carbohydrates and making gassy molecules like carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and methane. In addition, the cells in the small intestine called the enterocyte get damaged due to the stagnant bile acids, which further reduces absorption of carbohydrates, leading to more bloating, distension, and flatulence. And all of this can cause malabsorption. If you have fat malabsorption, your stool will float in your toilet, or you may see a layer of grease on the water. This may be dangerous, as you may not be able to absorb essential nutrients like vitamin A, vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids, or proteins, or even vitamin B12, thiamine, and niacin. When you have SIBO, it also changes how your intestine processes your own bile acids, which makes the bile get reabsorbed too early in the small intestine, reducing the ability of bile to help you absorb the fat in your food. Toxins like lithocholic acid further impairs the absorption of nutrients. And when you have too much free bile acids, that can stimulate the secretion of water and the loss of electrolytes. This all leads to diarrhea. Thus, bile salts are really not a good idea to take as a supplement. Now, diagnosis of SIBO ideally should be from a culture aspirate of the jejunum, but that is an invasive test and requires a doctor to stick a camera down your throat. Now, you may have had your poop checked. That doesn't diagnose SIBO. Your stools are a reflection of your large intestine, not your small intestine. There is, however, a surrogate test that indirectly measures bacteria in the small intestine through analyzing the gases produced when you drink a sugary solution. It's called a carbohydrate breath test, and it measures hydrogen and methane gases that are exhaled in your breath. Now, human cells, we can't make hydrogen or methane. When you're given glucose or lactulose, the microbes in the small intestine can ferment them into gases that get absorbed by your blood. Then they just get expelled in your lungs. However, you can imagine that this is an imperfect test and it can have a lot of false positive results. So if you are planning to do this test, make sure to avoid antibiotics for at least 4 weeks prior to taking the test. And by the way, antibiotics should really be the last resort, but unfortunately, it's often given. Also, don't use any laxative for at least a week or eat complex carbohydrates and dairy for at least 12 hours prior to the test, since these foods can increase hydrogen levels. In fact, it's really best to fast for 8 to 12 hours prior to taking the test. Just remember, exercise and cigarette smoking can also change the test results. And by the way, if you're constipated, you will also have higher levels of methane in your breath. Here's a list of foods that contain FODMAPs. Now, mature broccoli, they contain fructooligosaccharides and the raffinose family of oligosaccharides. No wonder these compounds can cause discomfort. They are, however, great prebiotics for bacteria. So if you have SIBO, your bacteria is fermenting this in your small intestine. The goal should be to reduce bacteria in your small intestine, but when you eat, the tube only goes in one direction, so your dietary changes will also affect the microbes in your large intestine. Now keep in mind, the FODMAP diet is a transition diet, and it's implemented in 3 parts to help you change your gut microbiome to support your metabolism. And this should not be a forever diet. Number 1, you should focus on reducing and ideally getting rid of most of the bacteria in your small intestine, and that may take 2 to 4 weeks depending on how quickly the bacteria will die off. And the way to do that is to starve the bacteria. But remember, your colonic bacteria, they use the same fuels, and this is why it shouldn't be a diet forever. At the same time that you're eliminating food, you should slowly add foods that are low in FODMAPs to your diet and monitor your symptoms. And then as you feel better over a few weeks, usually slowly reintroduce one food at a time that has high FODMAP to see what you can and cannot tolerate. And then time goes on as your gut heals, you may be able to tolerate all the FODMAP foods. But for step 1, the goal is to stop feeding this bacteria in your small intestine. So elimination is the most important part of the diet. Here are some 9 steps you can try. Number 1, stop anything with high fructose corn syrup, including sports drinks, sodas, energy drinks, fruit juices, and those specialty sweet coffees and tea drinks. This is a great reason to cut these inflammatory drinks from your diet. Number 2 is to stop anything with artificial sugar and simple sugars. That's basically junk food and added sweeteners that you probably are using for your coffee and tea. Number 3 is to stop dairy. The sugar lactose in dairy makes most people feel bad, even if they don't have SIBO. It's really hard to metabolize lactose because most people have lost the enzyme lactase that they need to digest lactose. Number 4, try going gluten-free. Wheat is the number 1 grain used in processed foods, and people simply eat too much wheat. This is a great way to learn about other grains, but avoid the 3 other gluten-containing high fructan foods like spelt, rye, and barley. Number 5, make sure you're drinking enough water. Make your small intestine like a river. Make it hard for the bacteria to stay in their ponds, and you can do this by constantly having water flow. Number 6, avoid eating beans until you get your symptoms under control. Number 7, pay attention with the vegetables that may give you more gas. You may find that eating cooked vegetables will be more gentle on your tummy. Number 8, keep in mind certain fruits that have more fructose also can give you a problem. So eating fruits that are more ripe, like a yellow spotted banana, may be less well tolerated than eating a green banana. And number 9, there are a couple of nuts that can also give you gas too. Now, some people will find relief if they just do steps 1 to 5. Other people need to do all 9 steps before they get their gut in balance, and then they can try adding the whole foods back with FODMAPs to see if they feel better. Now, after reading this list, you may wonder, what can you eat? Well, there are low FODMAP foods like grains such as rice, quinoa, and oats. If you want to drink milk, try almond milk or oat milk. And when your gut can tolerate it, then it's good to eat number 4, Brussel sprouts. This miniature cabbage-like vegetable, they're not only delicious when cooked properly, but they also provide significant health advantages. Now, I mentioned the cells in your body communicate through signals, like Morse code. So when you eat Brussels sprouts, you're promoting happy signals that starts with your gut microbiome because you're eating almost 4 grams of fiber. If you eat Brussels sprouts first, you can build a fiber wall. And Brussels sprouts also have plant phytonutrients like sulforaphones and indole-3-carbinol. That's a breakdown product of glucobrasinin. Now, indole-3-carbinol is important to help you detoxify from drugs, carcinogens, steroid hormones, and other toxins. Preclinical studies suggest that they have an anti-estrogenic effect, which may be helpful for estrogen-dependent cancers. They also seem to have activity against human papillomavirus, which can cause not only cervical and vulvar cancers, but they can also infect the respiratory tree. Do you know anyone who smokes? Smokers, they build up a compound called TMAOs, or trimethylamine N oxide. This compound also goes up with people who eat red meat, and it's associated with higher cardiovascular problems. However, smokers that ate Brussels sprouts had less measurable TMAOs. Maybe you compare that with your red meat. Brussels sprouts is one powerful food, and when you eat it, you are changing your blood chemistry and filling your body with powerful antioxidants to help combat oxidative stress. And all these nutrients ultimately help improve your skin. It can protect it from damaging UV rays and pollution. The end result is less wrinkles and a healthier overall skin appearance. I like Brussels sprouts because they basically last longer than most leafy green vegetables, roughly 3 to 5 weeks at freezing temperature of 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and about 1 to 2 weeks if you just refrigerate it. Now it's important to rinse a Brussels sprouts to remove the debris, and you may want to cut the stem off as that can be pretty hard. I basically slice them lengthwise. I saute them with some avocado oil and season it with crushed garlic. If you've watched my other videos, you know I love dinosaur kale, which is number 5. Can you believe how much vitamin A is in one serving? It is very important that you rinse your kale well, as it's been shown to trap the chemicals in air pollution. Did you know that kale is a Mediterranean staple and has been eaten since 2000 BC? Like other cruciferous vegetables, kale is rich in glucosinolates. Now, I focus on these foods because they help the body eliminate cancer-causing toxins. Kale is also a good source of lutein and zeaxanthin, 2 nutrients that may be protective against glaucoma. In my other videos, I've mentioned how eating high-fiber foods can help you reduce the absorption of sugary, starchy foods as well as cholesterol, and together they lower your blood sugar and lower your blood cholesterol. This all reduces atherosclerosis, basically the pathway to heart disease. If you eat cooked kale, that's actually more effective than raw. This is because cooked kale releases compounds that can bind to bile acids so that they don't get recycled back into your system. I like kale because the carotenoids, they give the skin a radiant, attractive color. Have you eaten pickled cabbage? So many cultures have their own version, from kimchi to Mediterranean red pickled cabbages. They're tasty, but I'm not a fan of pickled cabbages because preserved salted foods, both fish and vegetables, they're associated with higher rates of gastric cancers. I've seen on the internet that some people like to drink pickle juice. While pickled vegetable juice extracts, they can cause DNA damage in cells in a petri dish, and if you swallow it, it can actually irritate the cells in your stomach. Now, I know this is against a lot of what you may be hearing online, promoting gut microbiome health with pickled foods. Medical doctors are talking about it. Gut microbiome researchers are talking about it. They're looking out for your gut health. Well, I think they're ignoring the stomach, and there's a well-established link between salt-preserved foods and gastric cancer. Stomach cancer rates are increasing, especially in women under 50. Now, I personally don't want to sacrifice my stomach for my colon, and that's why I just eat red cabbage, which is number 6. That red color means there's extra anthocyanins from my gut microbiome as well as my brain, so I don't age so fast. Have you noticed how dementia is also on the rise? Have you ever cared for someone with dementia? It's a terrible disease for both the patient and their caregivers. There are so many causes of dementia, including high blood pressure. There are doctors on the internet that say you need to rest 20 minutes before taking your blood pressure to make sure that it's accurate. Now, that may be accurate for people who are resting all day long, but if you're not doing that, then I don't see how that's accurate. The American Heart Association instructs you to sit still, don't smoke or drink caffeinated beverages before you measure your blood pressure. These things we know will raise your blood pressure. To me, how does this make any sense? If you're a smoker and you're smoking all day, shouldn't you know that your blood pressure is elevated? Because elevated blood pressures is what's going to lead to a stroke or heart attack. If caffeine raises your blood pressure and you're drinking coffee all day long, shouldn't you know that too? Now, when you're in the hospital, we check your blood pressure 24/7. It fluctuates throughout the day. And if we only checked it once a day or twice a day, then we're not going to be able to intervene when you have high blood pressure. I do agree, however, in taking multiple readings and recording your test results, and not measuring your blood pressure over your clothes, because that can give you falsely low numbers. Now, when I take my blood pressure, I want a random number. I don't sit still and I don't want to get relaxed, because if that's not my normal state, I want to know my blood pressure is elevated. Sometimes I take it standing or basically check my blood pressure at random times because I want to know that it's good no matter when I check it. Our nation has a high blood pressure problem, and the medical system is doing a terrible job at solving it. Nearly half of Americans have high blood pressure, and only 25% of them are under control. Like blood sugar, blood pressure slowly damages your organs. Basically, it damages all your blood vessels that all your organs need. And these organs include your brain and kidney. And the solution lies in your lifestyle and your diet. And that's why you should be looking for nitrate-rich foods if you have high blood pressure. These are foods found in plants that can help relax your blood vessels. Relaxing your blood vessels improves your blood flow, improves your energy, as well as your performance. Now, many people know beets have a lot of nitrates, but it pales in comparison to arugula. And that's why I'm glad arugula is my son's favorite vegetable, which is number 7. He eats that every day. I love it too. It has a great kick, and you can eat it as a salad or mix in with other greens. Now, sometimes we're just tired of eating raw vegetables and we want something kind of soupy. So that's where number 8 comes in, bok choy. Have you seen how much calcium is in arugula and bok choy? Now, I'm always trying to sneak in cruciferous vegetables in my kids' meals because consuming cruciferous vegetables regularly can help reduce cancer rate. And this is really critical for kids that are growing because childhood toxin exposure will increase your child's risk of getting cancer as an adult. Another healthy vegetable is collard greens, number 9. Look at the amount of vitamin A this vegetable has. No wonder it is associated with a reduced risk of glaucoma. Now, I've only talked about leaves and flowers, so let me tell you about a spicy root, radish. That's number 10. It's also a cruciferous vegetable. And remember how I mentioned that salt increases stomach cancer? Well, if you do like to eat fermented foods, you may want to consider eating some radish. In this study, someone thought about dripping different types of vegetables on cancer cells to see what happens. And look what happens to stomach cancer cells. Radish basically stopped them from growing. So did cabbage, cauliflower, and Brussel sprouts. So if you like to eat pickled foods, you may want to consider eating these cruciferous vegetables daily. If you want to learn more about what to eat to fight cancer, watch the next video.